Actually, you're on mute, I guess.
Thank you for that detail. Welcome. Yes. Okay, so since calendar year 2007, I was muted. And so the monologue that I was going into, I'm glad that that was brought to my attention. So Baltimore SharePoint Users Group since 2007 has existed as Microsoft's longest running community-focused institution, Maryland's longest running Microsoft-focused community institution. So that means each month since 2007, we've hosted meetings. We've been a location for training, for education, for resources, for information workers with a specific slant on Microsoft technology to learn, grow, and apply. And so the first time I've ever seen an instance of, let's say, SharePoint or MOS 2007 was at a user group. And so it gives users or attendees and members the opportunity to skip the line and shorten the learning curve because you're exposed to the latest and greatest technology as we move forward to today. That also includes the Power Platform, Microsoft 365, and all flavors and platforms in between. So although SharePoint is in the title, we realize that Microsoft's cloud focus has integrated many of the apps that we know, use, and love. And so we've broadened our focus to include topics of discussion across the Microsoft stack. And so according to the numbers, over 2,100 Microsoft professionals since 2007 have been trained and certified. And that the total is now 8 as of last month. Microsoft practices have been started by members of BeastBug and have gone on to do some remarkable accomplishments within the industry overall. And so special thank you to ProObject. Now, we are currently meeting virtually due to pandemic-related changes, but ProObject has continued to support us. They were previously our location sponsor, meaning we met 1 mile away from the Maryland Live Casino in Hanover, Maryland. And so ProObject continues to support us. And so ProObject was rated as one of the top 100 companies to work at in the great state of Maryland. And I encourage you highly to see what they have to offer. In many cases, they have hybrid roles, which may be, for example, system engineer with a SharePoint focus. And so if that may be you, then the email to contact is TM Staley, that is Ted Staley at ProObject.com. Thank you, Ted, for all that you do. Moving forward now, some people may say the pandemic's over. Some people may say it's just begun or it's just continuing on. But one thing's for certain, two things for sure, is that the impact on government contracts and the impact for that is on, let's say, just projects overall is undeniable in this particular region, which is DC, Maryland, Virginia. This is widely considered the #1 Microsoft market in the world in terms of its adoption across educational, healthcare, as well as government agencies. And we've seen a dramatic downturn in projects. And so what we've decided to do is, if you are out of work or your contract is going to be shortened, delayed, cut in any way, shape, or form, please send an email to the address here, and you will receive a free complimentary resume and career review session that will also include LinkedIn. It's my belief that if you're a member of our user group, you're going above and beyond in order to learn, grow, and advance. And so you should have access to the best that we have to offer in terms of career-related services. And so take advantage of that while it exists. Now, and for those of you who are doing business, or let's say, as I mentioned, there are 8 Microsoft practices that are started within our particular membership. So many of them were full-time employees who received some unfortunate news hiring-wise, and so they had to improvise. And so if I knew then what I knew now, I would have sent them to SCORE. Now, SCORE is the nation's largest network of certified business mentors. It's a government resource, and which means that it's complimentary for any person who is entrepreneur or self-employed minded to work on your business plan, work on your financial documents, help you plan and structure your business, help you with employees, all the nuts and bolts of running a business. And there are 6 centers located throughout the, let's say, Howard County on over to Hartford County areas, which include Baltimore City and Baltimore County. And so the website is greaterbaltimore.score.org. Okay, for those of you who want to take the next steps and become a speaker, we have Call for Speakers open. Now, let's say you don't necessarily, speaking comes in all shapes and sizes. You don't necessarily have to deliver a 75-minute presentation. It can be 10-minute break fix. It could be lessons learned and or featured presentation. So if that is you, then please reach out to me and I will help you structure your presentation. Now, without further ado, I will turn the stage over to long-term SharePoint user group member, Mr. Vakul, and he will go into Microsoft Lists using PowerAutomate. Thank you for delivering your session. Let's see here. So come on up. I will update your access here, and you'll have the ability to share your screen and deliver your session.
Thank you, Phyllis.
The floor is yours, and I will monitor the chat for any questions that may come up.
Let me share the screen.
Bottom at the footer of your browser.
Okay. Yeah. Let me go and start sharing. Can I see the screen?
Yes.
All right. So let me start playing that and see. Okay. So I think I chose the wrong one. Can I just share that once again? Okay. There you go. All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the session on the Microsoft Lists and supercharging those using PowerAutomate. There's a reason why I kept Baltimore City Hall over there. I would come back and I'll explain that in the next slide. And let me start explaining something about myself. It's not going to be huge, but I've been a member of Baltimore SharePoint user group. And thanks to Shadid, we were always there and he was always there. And we've been attending from 2011. There've been some gaps in coming here and there, but whenever it is online, we tried our best to be there. And I'm working in City of Baltimore, Office of Information and Technology as development team lead. And over years, I started my career as a .NET developer, moved on, got some certifications on .NET, SharePoint. And right now I'm just using Power Platform for digital transformation. Like, we know that our city is a Microsoft shop. So I see that Power Platform as a potential to be a powerful tool for the digital transformation. So I'm interested in digital transformation and the low code solutions. So low code, no code solutions have been my interest lately. How can you down the line can develop low code solutions where the developers and the citizen developers can come in and do these things, and that works really well when you are in a government setup where many people want to contribute, but because of their roles, they can't. So let me jump directly into the slides. Some of these are going to be some theoretical slides and other stuff, but I promise you that we're going to go look into some of the things which I've done in the last few months. All right, so let's start with the Power Platform. And most of you guys might have already known about these things, about Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI, and Power Virtual Agents. So, and I'm proud to say that in 2016 or 2017, me and one of my colleagues attended a Power BI session. We went back and implemented a solution for one of the online payment applications on looking at how much money we received using Power BI. And that was a huge hit. We were heroes back in 2018. And all I learned that was from this session, like, one of the SharePoint user group sessions. And Power BI was our initial thing where we started getting into it. And then Power Automate was called as Flow. And Power Apps I'm still learning Power Apps and Power Virtual Agents, where we're learning and diving more into the Power Platform. So I will not bore you with reading all of that, but that's just to introduce what the Power Platform is. Now, we looked at Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, and Virtual Agents. Recently, we have started exploring Dataverse. So you're starting using Microsoft Lists, and Microsoft Lists, before I start Microsoft Lists, I don't want to go for the downsides of those, but they have a limit of, when you're going for an online Microsoft List, they have a limit of 5,000 records. When you go beyond that, you can use OData to actually query those things and get certain information. But when it comes to the structured data, you want to have relational data, which can be stored in Microsoft, and you can use some of the tables, or they're called tables right now in Dataverse. You could explore Dataverse, and AI Builder has grown so leaps and bounds, and you actually see a lot of difference even the next week when you go into that. And there are a lot of data connectors. We're talking about 4,000 plus data connectors to different sources. Like, you use MailChimp, you use some Constant Connect, and you just name, and they have the data connectors. You can connect to Salesforce, you can connect to any other card solutions which are already all around. So I thought that adding that slide, again, it is from Microsoft, would give us some introduction. Now, coming to seeing what is Microsoft Lists. They are Microsoft Lists are they provide you that flexible way of organizing work. Like, you've already, most of you might have already seen the SharePoint list. So these are, in a simple terms, glorified version of the SharePoint list. And these have, like, when you create a list, you create a list in your SharePoint site. But if you add, there's a query string which you add at the end, which would make it as a web view. And that by itself is going to be completely different. And it is going to be very simple. And anyone who is trying to start, like, we have many people who are interested in SharePoint in the city. And when we show Microsoft List to them, with all the colors, logos, images, and all the things which are coming into that, most of the people get really interested in that. So I started with Microsoft List as a simple thing, and then you start exploring the ways, and we start looking into how it is integrated with all the power tools. That's when you realize the real power of Microsoft List, and then utilize that for many of those things. And I'm going to explain, when we talk about different scenarios on where we could use Microsoft List, it's mind-blowing. So let me go to the next slide, which actually compares what is the difference between Microsoft List and the SharePoint List. And when you're looking at a Microsoft List, they are like, they can be used to manage the teams, and like that's one of the examples to use by using the structured data. So when you're looking at the SharePoint List, it's more of the spreadsheet which is around it. And SharePoint Microsoft List is actually gives you an option to view your list in different formats. And you can add multiple conditions, you can add multiple views, and based on those views, you can add coloring and add conditions to it. You can use it in a grid view and all of that. And it's definitely a lot better in the SharePoint List, but the SharePoint lists are not dead. They are still being used. And with the Microsoft List, you can actually go around, add some icons, change the color, pictures, and all of that. So again, it's going to be another simple slide, like, how are you going to create it? Like, it's going to be very simple. And how is it smart? We're going to see how is it going to be smart. So there are multiple rules which you can add on how it's going to be. And they're going to be very flexible. You can, you can download the iOS app, iPad app, and you can still use it. And there's a lookbook for that, and I'm going to share the links down maybe later here on how these things can be done. So again, there's one, in the beginning, there were some scenarios. How do you create your scenarios? Where do you think that Microsoft List is going to help? So in the beginning, like, I was looking at Microsoft slides, listening to presentations, and this slide actually interested me because you are as part of someone in the team. Like, you can be in product management, you can be in a leadership team, you can be anywhere, like, in a health department, you can be in finance department, and you want to see, you want to track, like, even for the things which you are trying to do it as to do, you want to monitor the things which are being done. And all of those can be saved in the Microsoft List. And which application are you going to use? It depends on Microsoft. It depends on what you choose. Here, when we are looking at different scenarios, we thought Microsoft List is going to actually help you in retaining all of this information, not just in the in your professional work. You can actually create your account. You can use your Microsoft account. It can be Hotmail account. It can be your Outlook account, and you can still use Microsoft List. I'm going to share the link down. In the next slides, I'm going to explain that to things. And while we're moving into these things, like, I've gone through, since I said that I'm interested in no-code solution and low-code solutions. There were some things which really interested me. And I'm not going to explain everything in here, but, like, when you are looking at no-code or low-code tools, how are you going to introduce that in your company? Like, we are looking at Microsoft List. You might think that it is a good one, but how do you think that, how do you convince your boss that Microsoft List is good? And I'm relating to some of these points, which are internal, which happened to me. So I thought that this slide would add some value. So the culture, whenever you go and you ask for these things, like, as normally when you go to management, they would ask, is it scalable? Can it be done? Can you do that? Can you do that? So there would be a lot of questions on the scaling, but you have to start thinking that you have to start somewhere, and that starts with the culture. So make sure that your company has that culture to start with. And there's so many companies, and in last a decade, we have seen many tools have gone in their power by 100 times. But are we using that 100%, 100 times of powerful things in our day-to-day activities? No, we don't have that bandwidth to do that. So you have to make sure some of these no-code tools are going to help you in all of these things. And how are you going to do it? You go to your management, try to get that thing, and not all leaders would have the permission to let you do those things. So you would have to start creating a simple project, which is going to be a paid project where you have to, like, looking for vendors and other stuff, but you go and present a simple solution and then grow up on it. So there was a situation where they were looking for a big solution, which would cost thousands of dollars. And then you go in and you do that in less than 3 weeks and provide a solution to that. So for all of this, my personal experience, again, I'm relating this to the YouTube thing, is you have to find your emotionally intelligent leader, talk to them, and talk to the right people, get the permission, and then who are close to work. Like, there are some leaders who would still want to deep dive, get those leaders and try to do this. And one big lesson which I learned is, don't try to win the political conversations where, oh, okay, we have hundreds of different things which we have to do, and you're trying to do something, though it is innovative. No, we don't want you to do that. Just go ahead for this. Don't try to win those. But just remember one thing, businesses are the people which are generating systems which are more powerful, which are more effective. So I thought that this would add some value, but just wanted to introduce this one. Now, coming to the Microsoft List. Now I want to explain each one, and we're going to see the demo of each one of this. When you go into the Microsoft List, how are we going to favorite this one? How are you going to create a list from a template? Like, there are multiple templates being provided by Microsoft. They can be like, your recipe, it can be your travel itinerary, it can be your project management, it can be your to-do. They are continuously adding more and more templates. One big tip to start is, even when you know that you can create the list, start with a template, because by using the template, you are going to see some hidden gems within those templates. You will be surprised to see, oh, can we do that? Oh, can we do that? So use a template, take that template, make a copy of it, and try to use that and modify it according to your list. And you could actually, we used one of the scenario where you could actually use the Excel data. We know that many people use Excel, and import all of those Excel information, Excel data into the list, and show them on how it works. They will be amazed. And you could also add list if you're using Microsoft Teams in your things, and there's something like mentioning your colleagues. You just add at the rate, which you use in your emails, in your Outlook, and also these things. And you can actually see calendar view. I'm going to show all of that in a second. And there are lots of formatting rules in that, and you could actually go and use all of that. So before we go to this scenarios, I'm going to show the list and see how it works. And then I'm going to come back to the scenarios, look at different scenarios and how we approach that scenario or the problem statement, and then look at how it was automated using PowerAutomate. while I'm gonna change the slides and open this thing, please let me know if anyone has any questions.
Use the chat if you have any questions. Okay, proceed on.
All right. Okay, so I'm gonna go back. I was sick for a couple of weeks, and I could not actually generate my own environment and everything. So I'm gonna actually show you some of my work, personal related, which was done on my own account, though, on a list. So I'm gonna show some of the things which were like, oops, sorry. Which are going to be, which I discussed here about, let's say, you're going for a list, like now you go for your office.com and you could actually go back here and use your list. So when you see the list, like, where you can create all of this logos and everything. And let's say you have hundreds of lists which you're working on, you could actually go and say, oh, you know what, I like this one. So you go and make it as a favorite and you work on it and you get rid of it. So once you're done, you can get rid of. That was the one which I was talking about, the first one. And when you say create a list, so these are the things, these are the templates which I talked about. So they were only 8, I think around 2 months back. And then they added 2 more, like, gift ideas and, the content scheduler and all of this. So you could actually use this as issue tracker and use that for your project management and actually see how many issues you have or to-do list and all of that. So this is a list from a template, and you could actually create a blank list from where you can actually start, which we highly recommend using either templates or using an Excel sheet. I mean, and you could actually upload an Excel sheet, which is already in your Office 365, or you can upload that from your device. So that's from your OneDrive or from the device. And you could also use from an existing list. Let's say you already built a list, and there are so many other lists which are already created in there. You pick it up and you actually use that to create a new list. So it's almost like copying a new list from there. And you could actually, as I said, you could actually use the Excel from those things. And you could actually take all of this list in your, as I said, list app for iOS. You can download that. You can add this list to your Microsoft Teams channel. Now let me go here and try to, this is one of the view, and I'll actually show you while we're doing this. Is, let's say when we click on this one, you could actually come back here and add someone. So I'm going to add a few people here. And there you go. It brings up all the people, and you could actually add them and make a comment about how you need to work on that. And they are, like, as you can see, this is the regular view, the basic view. And you could actually click on edit in grid view, and you can change that while you are in the same page. So this is a huge improvement from what we have from the SharePoint list. It used to be like as the SharePoint list improved, it started as coming on the right side window where you are actually editing it and updating it as a single page app. But this is another improvement where you actually update it in a grid view, and you can come back in grid view. So it is actually updated while you're doing this. And there's something else. Now, you have a different ways of looking at these ones. You can go and use it as a compact list, and you can use it as a gallery. So in this gallery, you could actually see everything here as part of the gallery. But I created something which is like a calendar. So for everything, and this calendar is view is based on when it was done. Like, I can actually go and create new view. And when you're trying to create a new view, you can look for the calendar and the start date and end date, approved date. And you could actually create multiple conditions in this and create a calendar view. And you can also create a board and based on what status it is in and everything. So there are different ways of creating these things. And one of the big thing which everyone liked was, okay, let me go back to the list view, is automate rules. So they are like, you can go and automate that using PowerAutomate, but there are some simple rules by which you can automate this process is create a rule. So when someone changes a column is changed, a column value changes, a new item is created, an item is deleted. So when I go back to the scenarios on how wide we used Microsoft lists and how we use the rules, I would explain on how it works. So here we looked at when a column changes, okay, completed by changes, then send an email, or you add it to a certain group. So you can create the rules, and for creating these rules, you don't have to be, you don't have to know anything. This is all no code, and they are out of the box. And these are the ones which were added like literally last year on different things. So now you feel, I want to show you something which is really, really good is, if you see this one is not the default view. This one is definitely not the default view. What I did here is created different blocks, different view, such a way that it looks like an application. It looks like a web application. You share this with someone, they come in, all of that is organized in such a way that these fields which we are seeing here are organized in such a way that you could actually see that as an application. How is this done? So there's something called configure the layout. So you have to use, there's a lot of help available on docs.microsoft.com on applying the formatting. It's going to be very, very simple. So as you can see here, I actually added a logo. If you see this one, this is the icon name, and I'll also show where you can get icons, the thousands of icons which are available, and you can use that icon in your thing, and you just have to enter the information here. But the most interesting part of this one is, like, as you can see, requested by. So this is automated, like, this is coming directly from the column. So if you change something in this column, it changes. And there's something called body, like this is where you see, and it's pretty simple. Display name is a field, it's the information. And these are the different Microsoft list columns: title, description, completed by, complete, and completed on. All of this information is actually under information. So now I come back here, and there's another display name which shows P-card requester details. And it actually shows the name from whom it was there and what was the email and all of that information. And there are many things here where you can add all of these things. Like, you can add information here, and there's one more shortcut here. If you want to use, if ever you want to use emojis or some logos, or like, approved or rejected, all of these things, this is a tip: press Windows plus period. Wherever you are in any of the Microsoft programs, just type Windows and period, and you would see emoji in any app. Like, you could actually see any of these, you could use that. And when we see approved here, the check mark, it was actually picked up from here. Like, you can get hundreds of these things, which you can pick up, which you can use in your application and make it look a lot better. So in review is going to be green, approved is going to be blue, green, and red. So you can change. I mean, it took a while for me to get that tip, but it actually helped. The more you do it, the more you get all of this information. So as you go in, as you can see here, and in the footer, right now I've not added anything, but you could actually add, if you have any questions, please click here to send an email. So you could actually add your support help desk or your service desk email here, or a contact person email here. And once they click on it, it will take them to that. So this normally would look very different. It would have looked very different, but once I modified it, once I changed the JSON, you don't really have to know much of JSON. There's a lot of help available. You just look into that, copy one of the sections, open it in your Notepad++, and update these ones based on your column names, and it will come up. So I think that was the one. Now let me go back to the scenarios on when we want to use this one. So let me go back here and talk about these scenarios here. So there was, let's say there's a need for one of the agency to get an approval before they release a press release. Like, before they want to give it to a press release, they want an approval from communications director. And then once a communication director approves it, it goes to an administrative officer. So we're talking about agencies' heads that they want to release something, and it is going to the deputy level, and then it goes to the highest level of office. And once they approve, it goes up. I mean, once they approve, an email is sent to all of these participants, including the deputy level, highest level, and also to the agencies. So this was a need, and they were looking for a document management solution. So when you're talking about a document management solution, you are trying to store all of these documents, which are going to be as a public release, and store it somewhere and send it as an email. Once the approval is coming, it is being sent to another deputy level, deputy level to highest level, and wait for that approval. And if there is any comment, oh, please change something, you have to come back and do it. You have to come back and submit again as an email. So for that thing, if you are looking at a Microsoft list, a user, let's say I am the agency, I go in, I attach a document. Once I attach the document and submit and save it, as soon as I save it, a trigger will send an email to the deputy office contact person. They approve it, and once they approve it, it goes to the main highest level. They review it, and once they review it, they approve it. And all of that information is stored, and any communication between all of these people is done through the list. Everything is done through the list. Where you come in here, let's say you come in here, you mention, could you please add some more content here? Could you please do this thing? And if there are any other agencies which are affected by it, they share this link to that agency, and all the documents which are relevant to that particular release is going to be here. It's going to exist forever. So this actually saved so many dollars to the city, and there are certain things which are still being worked on, but all of this is being done. That's one of the scenario where we used, and to make it much more better, the people who actually go in, and whenever there's a, like, let's say 1 month or 1 week of delay, and depending on what you choose, it's an emergency, you get a reminder every day, every week, every month. So you actually go and modify it according to that and use that. So this one was the biggest one which you start with. Like, it was started as just submitting the document, and then over the time, it was also updated to say, we create an email, send an email to this one, and automatically the whole flow is triggered. From whom this was sent, And depending on which agency they are on, which department they work in, the email, the flow would actually trigger it to the right person. And that flow would go to the right person, and an email is sent that this is sent for an approval. So all of this process can be automated, and they're all within your Microsoft 365 ecosystem. So this was one of the scenario, and I would actually show one of the flow in this on how it worked and everything, but I would just try to explain on how it worked. Like there wasn't, I mean, for any agency which is buying any software product or any COT solution, they need to get an approval from the IT department, from the InfoSec, whether this product is good, and infrastructure, whether we have already an existing license, so that we can add you to that license and see if this is really needed from 3 different departments. So you look for that. And again, as I said, the approval it goes to 3 departments. And once all of these 3 approve, it directly goes to fiscal. And all the fiscal person has to do is approve. And once they approve it, an email is sent along with a PDF saying, thank you, we got your approval. And please continue using your credit card or your account number. Or if they have anything to add, they would come back and add the things. Again, all of this happens within the SharePoint list. And there's another scenario which is very, very interesting, is bidding process. So let's say someone is trying to bid, or someone is trying to, the citizens or some companies which are trying to bid for a project which is already publicized in the city. So you can go there, you send an email with your bidding document. As soon as you send the bidding document, you get an email saying that, acknowledgement email that we are looking into this bidding process. And a list is created, and it is being reviewed, and it is either in progress, it is sent to an agency, it is approved or rejected, or requesting for more information. So there are multiple scenarios here. And when someone needs some information from one of the agency, they say, could you please send one more document? And they send that document to that email, reply to that email, and PowerAutomate will take all of those. And there was another scenario where you have a team, you want to do performance appraisal, and you're maintaining the goals for your mid-year, end of the year, beginning of the year. So all of this historic data and how they perform, what training that they need, and all of that, it can be maintained in an Excel. I mean, this is one of the prototype which we are looking into, but these are all the scenarios. So there's one other scenario where we looked into Microsoft List was, let's say we have many drivers within the city who are using the city vehicles, and if they are involved in any accident, where is the data? Where are the photos stored? Where are that information stored? There are many people who are involved who have to look into it. The agency has to look into it. The police department has to look into it. So since all of these departments are in that Microsoft ecosystem, M365, they can go and look into these things. And we can do on the list level security where you can actually share that list, or share that one particular row of the list where one person can actually go and do it. So we are still working on some of the important security considerations, but this is, and you could actually make multiple REST API calls, build Power BI on top of it, see how this works and all of that. So since we already talked about the scenarios, let me show one of the flow which we used. There's another flow. Okay. All right, so I would show you the big one. This is not the real production one, but this is the one which I created as a sample for them to review. Is when a new email is coming to certain email, which is like the big email, you pick the current time and create an item in the SharePoint list. You are creating an SharePoint list. What happens is you have different controls. Like let's go and add a thing, add an action, and you come here and search for SharePoint. So when you look for the SharePoint, you look for the create a file, create an item. So we use that create an item here, and you can also get an attachment from the SharePoint list and actually show it and attach to the email. So all of that options can be done to through the SharePoint, and there are multiple triggers here. There's so many triggers, and you're not just looking at SharePoint. You also have multiple triggers, and there are some paid triggers. Like you're looking at AI Builder. You can use your Excel, and if you're looking at the premium ones, as we can see, the Dataverse. So you're looking at a Dataverse. You're actually adding a new row and all of these things, and you can use Azure Automation, and you can also tie it up with Arcgis. These are the ones which we actually are reviewing, but there are so many other things which are premium on the premium side. Once you have a license, you could actually use all of that. And there are some standard ones, like you could go around and you don't have to create an app from it. A simple scenario would be like and the PowerAutomate is like whenever you receive an attachment in your Outlook, in your email, take that attachment and drop it into a OneDrive. So there's so many things, so many cases where you can use your planner, like when you get an email with an important thing, add it into a planner that you need to review it or something of that sort. So you could actually go in and do it on your day-to-day tasks. But as I said, the many things which are in here that you can use it in any time. Like, we can use it in any way. So when a new email receives, you pick the subject and put it as a title and email from whoever we are receiving it from. It can be a citizen, it can be a company. So it can be a Gmail, it can be some company, and their body. Like, we say that the body has to have all the information. We put the instructions that you say that, you're bidding for this thing. It can be anything. You just pick the body and date bid email sent. The reason we're capturing the date bid email sent was to see and also capture how many days this bid took to either approve or reject. So you can also add in some metrics in here to see for each of this list item we are creating, how long is it taking? How long is it taking to approve or reject? And how much communication is being done? How many steps are being done? And what is the priority? Depending on the project, you can actually change the priority value to the high or low. And if they have multiple attachments, you're applying the loop. So you're going to take all of the attachments and add it to your list. So you're picking the list ID, which is already created on the top level, and taking the attachments, and you're adding that content, and you're also adding the name of that attachment from the email, which is sent to that particular email, and add it to that. Now, once that is done, it's going to be pretty simple. Once the attachments are added, you are just sending an email. New email was received and details are created. So you can send this email to someone, to users. You can pick up the user from whom we got this one. And this is pretty much going to be everything like a text box where you enter everything. But as you can see, you have the dynamic content. You can add an expression. There's an expression which is very, very powerful. You can use lots of things to pick up information from these columns. But the dynamic content is the one where you see all of the fields which you already see. Like, you created the SharePoint list on the top and you pick the email, all the dynamic fields which are related to that would come back here. And you can literally get every field in this one. And then this was send an email to the city users in the sense, let's say there are 5 people in that bidding department who want to get an email that a new bidding email was received and it is very important. So you send that to the city users, and once it is sent to the users, you send it to the user, like the citizen who actually sent it, and that would say, "Thank you for sending an email," and you add that title, and you add all the information which you want to add in that email. Let's say if it fails, it is sent to a administrator saying there was some issue, something happened, and this whole thing is done. So now you actually, whenever you create this one, you actually click on this flow checker, you get information on these things. You could also do a testing. Like, I would just click on a test, click on doing manually, test. So it would actually even say to send this one, you need to actually send an email in your inbox. So there would be completely another session to actually see how this works, how to troubleshoot this PowerAutomate flow, and how to improve this, and look at different options. So you could actually see how many times did it run, and you can also get that as a analytics, which is a Power BI report. So you can get a Power BI report on how often this is running and what is the problem with this and everything. So you could actually, this is the one which came up recently. You could actually improve your flow. You actually see process insights and everything. And one thing which you have to be very careful about this one is this is not auto-saved. So once you run these things, you actually send as a copy, or you save it on your drive, and sometimes you import and you actually export and get that information. I had some issues where I worked too much on this one, missed a couple of things, and then you go back, your history is not saved. Unlike your Word document and everything, I think that's going to come down the line. That's one of the disadvantages of using this one, but you could actually submit this as a template, give it to the users. I shared it with a couple of other developers, and they started using this one. Okay, with that, I think I've shown enough, and there are many things to show still, but I would want to just say, like, these are the things which we covered anyway, but I want to give due credits to Reza Durrani. You could actually search him in YouTube, and Daniel Christian. These two are the guys who actually inspired me into looking into different scenarios, because every month they come up with some really good ideas on how all of this can be done. And they come up like every month, Friday, on some training session on different things. And they actually help me. And there was one link. Okay, there's one thing. If you are interested in, if you are interested in PowerAutomate or anything which is related to the power, there's something called PMP, and there are multiple sessions. There's a session every Wednesday, I think. Yeah, every Wednesday around 11 o'clock. You can actually see. You can actually prepare samples. You can also prepare some of the lists, which can be used as a template by different users. And you can also present it and show all of your thing. And here, every week, they talk about different things, what are the improvements. And there's a group of all passionate people who talk about all of these things, like how these can be done. They have the templates which you can actually use to build your applications and other stuff. I found it like really, really interesting. And there are some Power Platform learning resources. There are so many things. This is just the beginning. There are so many things which you could do by using PowerAutomate and Lists. And there's one scenario which I can say is when you are having, like, there's one scenario where there were 5,000 records coming in a week. And if you're getting 5,000 records and you're trying to talk to that as an API, Microsoft Lists are not a replacement for a database. Microsoft Lists are for certain things which you are looking for certain time and you want to keep it in aside. So those are the ones. And the one, as I mentioned earlier, there's something called Fluent UI. So if you want to use icons, like, not just here, but anywhere in your Microsoft things, you could actually go and start using these icons. So you just get the name, hover over it, and you get all of that information. You get this one, copy that, and use that anywhere in your application. So you could go for your web components, React, and all of these things. I mean, these are all the icons which I actually showed you where we had this one. Yeah, this is the one. So you could actually get the name, use that icon here, and let me show you one simple example here. Okay. Come back here, this is the one, configure layout, and header to the one. I think I'll just come here and change it. Sometimes it works, sometimes it won't, but I'll just see. There you go. So you could use all the icons here that can be changed, and all of that are available in Fluent UI, and you can use that in JSON and PNP sharing. And if you want to see how you want to adopt it, this is not just for developers, but if there's any product managers or project managers who would want to use and want to review it, you could actually go back and use this adoption, Microsoft List adoption.microsoft.com, and you could use Microsoft List in that. So they would actually use all of this information. Oops, actually it's going somewhere. But if you see, if you are looking at some galleries for the, here and how the community is developing and it can be shared, you could actually go to aka.ms. Oh, it's actually opening now, I think. aka.ms samples. You could get all of that information here. And the more you review, the more you look into it, the more you try to understand, the more you get. And one last thing is Microsoft is actually providing Microsoft Learn some of the sessions where you go and attend few of those sessions. Those are like 2-day sessions or something for 3 hours. You get a certification free voucher. You can use that and get certified and show that and try to learn more. But I would say please go through Reza Durrani and Daniel Christian's YouTube channel. And there's one link here from 2021. It was presented by Saurabh Pant. He was like a program manager, but it has everything. Like when you are new, how to get started. And you also have a training labs. And if you have some experience and if you are interested in administration and governance, there's so many posts here which you could actually get an understanding on how to use these ones. So I would recommend if anyone is interested, they could actually go to this the site, which is by Saurabh Pant, and use that to get more information. And that, I think I'm pretty much covered everything. Sorry if I've taken more time, but if there are any questions, we can go ahead for those.
Add your questions to the chat, please. You did a great job with this session overall. Thank you for offering to deliver a session and for being a longtime member of what we do here at Baltimore SharePoint. If there's no further questions, then thank you for tuning in this month. And we'll be back once again for another session filled with Microsoft news, notes, and technology. Let me take a moment so that we can make sure that we have all questions addressed. Use the comments. Okay, so once again, thank you for another great session. Logging out now for the evening, and stay tuned for our next session, which will be announced on Meetup.